Hi everybody, Jason G from Mischievous Soup. Just going to show you how to play the player hand. And basically, the way the player hand works is you get one card for every level you have, with a maximum level of 5. You can also have one free epic hero card in your hand at any time. It doesn't count toward your hand size. Now, the next thing is, see, each card has a power level. If your level is not equal to or higher than the power level, you cannot hold this card. You cannot have it. You cannot have it in your stack. You have to give it back to the GM. It's too powerful for you. Luckily, though, that gets surpassed pretty easy, pretty fast in the game, depending upon how the GM wants to see it out. So you're the player. Let's just play a real quick game. From the player side, you get dealt 4 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, and you have some pretty cool lingering abilities. +2 to damage, and you can play up to 2 more hero cards per turn. That's excellent, right? Now, before you start the game, you have an option of what we call stacking your deck, sending cards back. Basically, you take a hero card, and if you want, you create your hero deck from it. This empties your hand temporarily, gives you 1 card. Big deal, you say. No, for every power point that you send back, I'm going to give you the next villain card from the stack on top of that. So now you have 3 cards in your hand and you have a reserve. Not quite enough to go epic, but enough to play. So then we play the game. You play a game, you use this ability, it goes to the GM. You play a game, you use this ability, it goes to the GM. But wait, how do I draw cards? There's 3 ways to draw cards. Whenever the GM plays a card, he causes an activation. An activation to the number of players equal to number of points. All you have to worry about is activation. When the GM says you activate your deck, you do one of 2 things. GM spins a card, does whatever, he says you activate your deck. What does that mean? That means you either choose to draw a card from your stack, and place it here for use, or you can choose to have the GM add 2 cards on top of your stack. So that's what activation does. And as you can see, activation adds up. So now you can actually, with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cards, 5 cards, you can actually go for an epic hero card. So this character's going to say, no, I don't want epic hero cards. Not yet. I want to draw a card to replace the one that I just spent. Now that's one way. Anytime during the game, if you have more than a card, or should I say more than 2 cards or more, anytime during the game, you can say, hey GM, I'm going to pay you a card. You pay the top card to the GM to tithe it, and you immediately draw the card underneath it. So in this case, the GM got a 1, and I got 1. Now, let's do a couple of rounds later. Let's say it's just me and the GM. These are 4 activations, right? So let's just speed the game up, and we'll go through 4 activations. So he's going to take those many cards, those many cards, those many cards, and he's going to draw 1. It's just a 1 versus 1 game with a 4-level character. So you'll draw one of those cards. Right? That's his 4th activation. So that's how you get more cards as activation. Now let's say we're playing the game, and in 1 round you burn through all, well you can't unless you have a better way to spend them, but you can play +2 hero cards per turn. So in 1 round you burn through all these cards just to save your character's life. Just to keep him alive. And you're like, oh crap, I'm in trouble. Now, you need a lot of cards. You'll be paying a lot. You can draw to your full hand when you roll a natural 20. So if you roll a natural 20, or whatever the critical is in the game you're playing, let's say whatever it is, you roll that critical, and now you can draw to your full hand size. Your full hand size is 4, so you're back to 4. So that's the 3 ways that you draw and use cards. When the icons get put in, they'll be manipulating the deck. You'll be able to manipulate your deck and draw more cards, change cards, do stuff like that. And that's pretty much that. That's how you play the game. And when people say activate, that's how you activate. Next up is epic abilities. As a matter of fact, let's just go right into it. All right, let's say you had this going on, right? And you, the GM activates. He does something. Costs 2 cards. He causes you to get 2 more activations. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. Now you have enough for epic ability. You say, hey man, I'm going to go epic. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It'll empty a reserve. This power reserve goes over to the GM, right? And becomes the GM stack. But now you get to choose. You say, hey man, I want to go epic war. You go epic war. So choose wisely. Get 1 random draw from the epic war pile. I'll take this one, turn it over, and it is ranged. Hopefully my character's ranged or a ranged shooter, but even if he's not, there'll be a host of abilities on it that I can use. +1 to initiative, And if I spend a charge, I can win the initiative. If I spend a charge, I can move safely, which means I can move without provoking any kind of extra assaults. Or if I'm hindered, like slowed or paralyzed, I can move for 1 round as if I wasn't. +4 to all attack rolls for 1 round. That's pretty powerful. And I can avoid an attack by spending a charge. And then there's a drop ability. The bottom is a drop ability, which means you return the card to the stack and you no longer have any of its powers, heroic attacks for 1 round. And you can use that even if it has charges or not. So that means when all the charges are spent, you still have something that you can do. So let's say you play it. And during the game, the way this works is you play your epic ability just like a hero card. Too bad you gave away that card that says +3 per turn, because you can still only spend 1 card per turn unless you have a card that says you can spend more. And that's the value of those. And that's also the value of the searches and the icons. So when you have that, you can say, hey, I got 6 abilities. Let's start a fight. Oh, you know what? I'm just going to win the initiative. Boom. I'm just going to burn this charge. I win initiative and I go. Now, it's just like playing a card, so it causes a villain activation. Since you don't have a card to spend because you didn't give me a card, the villain, the GM, simply takes the card from the top, places it on top of his stack. And that's it. That's how you play the game from the player side. So, look on further for the villain side. Later. Peace.